Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nexiphor Cast, where we highlight forward-thinking leaders in real estate and the business. Today, I'm joined by Bill Himmelstein, founder of Tenant Advisory Group in Chicago. Bill, thanks for joining me today. Let's start by getting to know you and your journey. So, Bill, can you share your story and how did you get started in real estate in the first place?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can take you way back to when I was a little kid, and my father would take me to an apartment building that he owned, and we would be emptying the washing machines and dryers of the quarters. And I
Hmm.
was probably knee high to a grasshopper. And so the bag of quarters was just as tall as me. And I'd say, Dad, we're rich. How are we going to spend this money? And my dad would say, I'm going to show you. Come with me. And he'd take me to the bank and he'd go, Bill, well, back then it was Billy. Billy, we're going to take this money, we're going to deposit into the bank, and the bank's going to pay us to hold on to the money. And each
Okay,
month after they've already paid us, they're going to pay us on top of the money they've already paid us. Teaches me about compounding interest, right? I'm like,
nice.
wow, this is pretty interesting. And then he says, you know how I got that building in the first place? I said, I have no idea. How'd you get it? He says, let's just say at the time, he goes, let's say it was $1 million. He goes, guess how much I paid for that building? I go, I don't know, $1 million. He goes, no, I only had to pay 200,000 and the bank paid the other 800. I said,
Awesome.
well, that's interesting. So he teaches me about leverage, right?
Hmm.
Um, he says, now I owe the money back to the bank in payments every month, but guess who makes those payments? I don't know. He goes, my tenants, the tenants who are paying rent, they pay the mortgage, they pay the taxes, they pay for the upkeep, and then we make a little bit of extra money on top of that if all goes well. I'm like, that's pretty cool. He goes, you want to know what we do with that extra money we make on top? And I go, buy a bigger house, go on vacation. I don't know. He
Hmm.
goes, buy another building. And so that's really when it started, when I thought, okay, this sounds really cool. What a great way to make money by using leverage, um, by collecting rent to pay your expenses and use any excess amount to buy another property. Um, then fast forward to high school, and one summer I was working as a bank teller. And I remember the vast majority of people would come into the bank every other Friday, like clockwork, right when they'd get their paychecks and make the deposit. And the paychecks were $180, $250, 312, pretty nominal amounts of money. But there was this one woman who would come in on an irregular basis and she'd deposit $36,000, $22,000, you know, 18,000, huge sums of money. And she had by far one of the largest balances of any customer at the bank. So finally, towards the end of the summer, I worked up some courage and I said, ma'am, I don't mean to pry, but may I ask what it is you do for a living? She says she's a real estate broker. And I'm like, ding, ding, ding. It's all circling back now. This being a real estate broker is a great way to earn the money to then go and buy real estate. And, you know, it, it pretty much kind of started there. Then by my senior year in college, I was interviewing for jobs, a lot of sales stuff like insurance sales and enterprise rent a car sales. And this one commercial real estate firm from Chicago comes into my school at Washington University, and they start telling me about what it means to be a tenant rep broker, tenant representative broker. And they say, you're going to be working with CEOs, owners, CFOs of companies. I said, well, that's a great network of people to build, regardless of what happens. If you
Yeah.
know owners and decision makers, that will provide other opportunities if this doesn't work out. They said, you know, you're going to be negotiating these businesses, one of their largest expenses. This is the biggest transaction that they're doing is real estate. I'm like, well, that sounds pretty cool. I want to negotiate a large transaction, which translates to a large commission.
Yeah.
They said, we don't care when you come and go. You are only going to be judged on your productivity. I thought, wow, that's the perfect way to be judged is on my performance and not, other random things as, a lot of companies, they have different ways of deciding what your compensation should be. Well, I want my compensation to be dependent on my output. I don't
Hmm.
want to have to rely on anyone else. I don't want to have to make sure someone likes me so I can get a good bonus, or if they don't like me, I get a bad bonus. I want my work product to speak for itself. And then Durant, they planted the hook. At the end, they said, "Oh, by the way, you're probably going to fail at this." And me being the young and dumb, inexperienced kid, I thought to myself, "No way in heck did these people tell me I'm going to fail. I'm going to prove them wrong." And that's
Yeah,
exactly what they want is the kid with a chip on his shoulder who's motivated to work hard and make money and won't take no as an option, won't take failure as an option. And
great.
so I also like to joke, Durant, how I got into this industry was just a series of bad decisions and mistakes. But
Yeah.
25 years later, I think I made the right decision. I'm thrilled to be involved, and I found ways to be successful in this industry.
Nice, awesome. Like sounds like interesting. I can say a solid experience, and it's like a big opportunity. Also, great luck to have your mentor on house from the young age. That's like I don't know. It's like life changing to have a mentor from a young age, like driving in that case, pushing you to the good stuff. It's expect instead of you like trying things that can fail. So awesome. It's great to hear that. So,
And you're right. I mean,
mhm,
that's a very good point. It's not lost on me how fortunate I was with
yeah,
my upbringing. And not only that my father was doing these things, but he then taught me about them. Because a lot of wealthy parents, they don't talk to their kids about money.
yeah,
And we are constantly talking to our kids about the stock market and dividends and real estate and, ways to build equity. And so, I think that is a pretty sizable advantage, which is not lost on me.
I love it. Nice. Awesome. So can you tell us like what was your first big learning moment or challenge when you like and when you entered the commercial real estate?
So, yeah, this is an interesting story and really highlights one of the many reasons of why I left big corporate to go start my own company 17 years ago. I remember my one of my closest friends from growing up was the grandson of H from H&R Block. Henry Block
Hmm.
and his brother Richard founded H&R Block. His grandson was a close friend of mine, still is to this day. And I remember because of that relationship, I was able to bring in my big Fortune 500 commercial real estate firm at the time, and we got hired on their corporate headquarters relocation.
Yeah.
Now, what ended up happening, which was a big lesson to me, it was a total fee of $2.4 million. And I'm probably 2 or 3 years out of college. Guess how much I walked away with of that $2.4 million?
5% commission.
I wish I got 5%. I walked away out of a $2.4 million commission
Wow.
paid to my firm. I walked away with $100,000. Now,
Okay.
$100,000, you say, well, that's a lot of money. And that's what the firm told me. Well, for a young kid, that's a lot of money. But
Yeah.
I earned and deserved far more than that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the lessons I learned that, things aren't fair when you're working for big corporate. When you're working for
Absolutely.
and I remember another later on in my career, they said to me, well, Bill, and I was arguing about wanting to earn higher commission percentages. And they said, well, Bill, just to have you here, for you to have a desk in this office, it's $120,000 a year. And I'm thinking, all right, a desk from IKEA costs $100.
Yeah.
A phone costs $100 a month.
Okay.
I'm going through the numbers and thinking, how are you coming up with $120,000? It just doesn't make any sense. I think I can do this cheaper. I can,
Hmm.
and so essentially what I realize is that these bigger firms, there's so many hands in your cookie jar, right? You make a commission, and typically how it worked out outside of that H&R Block World Headquarters deal, if I earned $100,000 commission half would go back to the company. So I'm down to 50,000. I was on a team with a mentor and other people. I might earn a third of that 50,000, which is $16,000. So I walk
Yeah.
away with 16% of the commission that I went out, found the client, worked the deal, closed the deal, and I get 16%. I'm like, Durant, this doesn't this
Doesn't
doesn't
sound right.
add up. And
Yeah.
so I you know, I ended up starting my own business, and my profit margins are anywhere between 40 and 50%. So I'm keeping my overhead low. I've got
Nice.
great people that I treat with respect and care. I treat my clients with respect and honesty and integrity. And now my margins, if I do $100,000 commission, I'm going to make $40 to $50,000 on that at the end of the day. So it
Nice.
just takes those lessons to be learned, right? Before you figure it
Yeah.
out, especially when you don't already know.
Yeah, and the good thing I can see is that you knew your value from the start. You knew like what you were worth. You didn't care like for small money and anything because you knew your worth. You know like how these king things cost, and that thing like led you to push forward and jump from, as you mentioned, from small percentage to now like earning way more. So I love that.
Well,
Awesome.
and you're spot on, and that's a really great lesson for all of your listeners is
Yep.
know your worth. Know what value you bring to the table and don't settle for less. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Starting off, sometimes when we're starting off, we do have to take a back seat to our own value because we're just learning and we're getting
Yeah.
educated. And there's value in learning and getting educated. But at some point, you've got to say, look, I realize this might be the norm. This is what everyone's doing. But I believe in myself. I believe I can do better doing it my way
Yeah.
and take that leap and make sure you stand up for yourself and your own integrity. So great point, Durant.
Yeah, fully agree on that part. The results talk themselves, as I say. All the results will like tell everything. You don't need maybe sometimes even to show it yourself. So let's talk about what we're seeing in the market right now and the trends part. What are the biggest trends you observed in commercial real estate over the last few years?
Wow. So that's a big question. And I'll tell you, you know, depending on whether we're talking about specific sectors like office, industrial,
Mm-hmm.
or retail, what I can tell you is that, they fluctuate. All sectors fluctuate up and down. A
Yeah,
lot of these sectors have a lot to do with one man controlling the market more so than anyone else, and that is Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, because he sets
yeah,
the interest rates. And to me, that has such a profound effect on the value of a property and therefore the volume of transactions that are going to take place. And that to me is kind of the biggest determining factor of the market. But of course, like let me talk about industrial briefly,
yeah,
right? The trends going on in industrial is that developers at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was trying to reshore their inventory. So they were bulking up on their inventory space, their warehouse space. So what do developers do when they see the vacancy rate start to get real low? Build more. Well, they overbuilt dramatically in big box warehouse. So 250,000 square feet and up.
yeah,
That's creating a pretty big glut in the market. A lot of vacancy right now, upwards of 6-7%, depending on whose numbers you're looking at. However, the unsung numbers, the things that you don't see in those vacancy rate numbers, is that spaces, industrial and warehouse spaces that are, say, 150,000 square feet and below,
mm-hmm.
there is almost zero vacancy, 2 to 3% vacancy rate in that sector of the market. So you basically have these two different sectors within industrial and warehouse space. And if you're looking for a giant big box space, the world is your oyster. You're going to have tons of options. If you're
Yeah,
looking for under 200,000, 150,000 square feet, it's going to be a really tight market. You're not going to have a lot of options. Now, let me tell you an interesting trend on the office sector. In the office sector, since the pandemic, yes, we saw a lot of businesses exit their leases and vacate office space to work remotely. Now we're seeing a lot of businesses starting to come back to the office. They see the value of bringing their team members together, the culture, the mentorship. There's so many different things that take place only in person that you don't get when you're remote. But what's happening, Durant, is that because the market came down so much in pricing, a lot of these tenants are doing what's called a flight to quality. They're flocking to the Class A, nicest buildings in the market, leaving a giant glut in the Class B and C buildings. Now,
Yeah.
on the flip side of that, the Class C buildings, some of them are getting repurposed and redeveloped into different uses like hotel, residential, low income housing, all sorts of different things. Um, some of them are just getting demolished entirely and redeveloped into other uses, but we're losing a little bit of supply on the Class C properties, and it's the Class B buildings that are kind of stuck in the middle. They have very large vacancies, but as the Class A buildings get filled up and they're no longer options for certain tenants, they will start trickling down into the Class B properties and start filling them up as well. So I don't mean to talk your ear off, because when people ask me about trends in real estate, I could go on forever. So I'll leave it at that. If you want to dive deeper, great. If not, then I think that's a pretty thorough answer.
No, it sounds awesome. Like you have the experience and you have the knowledge, so nothing can stop you. But like besides all of this kind of trends, what do you think also for the tech and the AI stuff? How is like impacting the business? I can say.
Yeah, really great question. So, first of all, I'll answer that by saying in the 25 years I've been doing commercial real estate, it's one of
Yeah.
the few, and I'd say commercial real estate and medical have been pretty slow to adopt technology in their
Hmm.
industries. Um, I haven't seen many transformative technologies that have really shaken up the industry. However, now we're starting to get into AI. And AI, I believe, has the ability to shake things up and to really make an impact on how we
Hmm.
do business. Um, the ways that I'm seeing it impact my industry so far, it's really on the marketing side, the copy side, like things that people are writing, and research that people are doing. Where I think that it's not going to be able to have an effect is that, the big difference why technology has impacted residential real estate is because residential real estate, buy the sell side, that's public information. You will
Hmm.
know every house in your neighborhood, when it was sold, and how much someone paid for it, right? What we don't have in commercial real estate is a transparent resource that's public knowledge where you can look up and say, okay, these people, this company signed a lease in this building. I want to know how much rent they paid, what's their escalation, how much free rent they got, what was the security deposit, how much tenant improvements they got, do they have a right to terminate, and what's the length? That's not public information. You
Yeah.
can't get that information. And so I think until that information is opened up, like AI could not mine the CoStar database. So residential real estate uses the MLS, the multiple listing service, for all their data. But a lot of that data is publicly available.
Yeah.
Whereas in the commercial real estate industry, our MLS is called CoStar. And even if, you know, name your AI resource, even if they wanted to get in and mine that data, they can't. It's locked down.
Yeah.
So that information is not publicly available. Um, so I do believe that AI, as these commercial real estate firms begin to figure out how best to utilize it, it will make an impact. But so far, Durant, I think we're like in the first inning. We're early
Yeah.
stages of the AI's. There's some industries, as you know, AI has had a profound impact. Uh,
Hmm.
Coding, right? Marketing, accounting, even in the legal profession. There's so many different industries that AI has had a profound impact. It hasn't gotten to commercial real estate yet. And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that yet it's coming. And we just need to figure out, and I think AI needs to figure out how it can serve as a resource for us.
Yeah, I agree on that part because it always starts like how you are using the technology. Because as you said in the past, I also don't think that tech made a huge difference because what could you use it? Do a website and do like a admin panel, like a CRM to manage your clients. In the past, that's it, like spreadsheets. You cannot use it more like to benefit from it. But now with AI, like moving on and like taking over. I have seen like a lot of agencies overall in real estate as I work with them, I can say daily, they've been using that on different kind of stuff. That now, besides like an online presence, like a website, they are using it to gather, let's say, leads, like qualified leads. Let's say in the past, let's say an agency or for your firm had maybe to hire 10 people, like agents, just to stay online, like for customer support and respond to people who like reach out to you through email or through website. And now that can be like fully automated because you can like just integrate like an AI bot in your website. And the people when they join your website, the AI will know that. And they will like write it immediately. Hey, I noticed you are interested in this property, on this service. How can I help you? And also the AI will do all the talking. So the agent doesn't have to stay there because what I've seen also is like most of the lost deals in this space are just because of time. You know, me as a potential client, if I'm reaching out to you and I don't get like a response within 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going somewhere else. And now AI has like it's like fixing that issue because the AI will respond in seconds, will give you like the right answers based on the company, and will also book meetings and like qualify leads and all this kind of stuff. So it's like a game changer, and it can be like integrated on different kinds of work. Always depending on the company, like what people they want to solve. So
I love it.
have you
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, AI is great at this part. And as we are talking about the AI and automation, have you like integrated any automation in your business, or have you tried to automate anything that like it's frustrating to you and you don't want to deal with it, but you have to deal with it, and you would like maybe to automate that as you as a founder, you would have way too much time to close more deals, find new money, create new
Mhm.
strategies, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, where I've discussed this with my advisors, with my competitors, is the part of my business that I tend to enjoy the least
Hmm.
is the follow-ups. But they're
Yeah.
critically important to stay in
Hmm.
touch with people, you know, to keep in front of them. And so on the follow-ups, what I've gone through the exercise of can it be automated? And what happens is it's really challenging because everyone has kind of a slightly different cadence. Some
Hmm.
people, I'm following up and just inviting them to different uh, executive events that I'm hosting, or some of them I'm following up with and just sending them a market update video blog that we do quarterly. Um, some I'm sending both of them to, and then
Hmm.
others it's something entirely different where I'm asking them about a specific requirement that they might have, or I'm following up and asking them about, you know, they may have told me in person that their child is sick or that their parent is sick, whatever, and I'm
Hmm.
following up on regards to a specific issue. And so, with that in mind, it's been very difficult to automate. But I also understand automation can really is only as good as your data, right?
Yeah.
The better the data you have, the easier it is to attach AI to automate
Exactly.
things. And so, in complete fairness and transparency, I will say my data is lacking. I
Hmm.
haven't been as disciplined with inputting notes and next steps. And, you know, it's just that's my problem, Duran, is a lot of it is right here. Well, that doesn't help AI right now,
Yeah.
at least right now, right? But I need to get what's in here into my data, and then I believe AI can have a tremendous impact in terms of automation.
Yeah, I agree on that part. There are always solutions about that because what AI can do now is like they can scan websites, you know? And let's say you have your own firm website now and you like put all the information there, like services about your company, team members, places where you like offer your services. And now the AI can like scan your website, and it can train itself without you spending time telling AI, what do I know? You know, what does my company do? You can just tell the AI, hey, scan, like say, well, this website, do like a full scan, what do you do, and all this kind of stuff, and the AI will be trained. And also, as much time as the AI will spend like doing stuff, he will just like get better and better and better. So there are never like limitations to AI in this kind of space, especially in real estate. Also on the onboarding, as I noticed, when you get new clients, you can like automate the whole onboarding stuff. From the moment the contract is signed, everything can be automated, and you can see everything in your personal dashboard, I can say, or maybe CRM. Everything, like every click, every payment, every view, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, it can never be like limited. So what
Amazing.
all we and as you know, like there are a lot of channels where people like get the most of traffic from, I can say, potential clients. Some of them get from the website, some of that maybe from a Facebook Messenger, you know, someone gets from phone. Which one of these channels do you like prefer, or on which one of these you get the most traffic for potential clients?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dre. I'll tell you, it's for us, it's been the Google reviews has been our biggest
Nice.
driver of new business. And the reason is typical brokerage firm, even the Fortune 500 brokerage firms, have anywhere from 5 to 10 total reviews, and they're mixed. There's some 1 stars, comments like these guys are horrible, we hate them, they're terrible, 1 star, all the way up to the 5 stars, which say usually 0 comments, but they
Yeah.
oftentimes share the same last name as one of the executive team members. So in other words, it's their spouses that are just going 5 stars. Tenant Advisory Group has over 120 reviews. Every
Nice.
single one of them are 5 stars. Every single one of them has a detailed description of what we did for that client. And I'm proud to say that 0 of them have the same last name as Himmelstein, which means they're actually from our clients. And so if you look at it on just a purely review basis, we have exponentially, 10, sometimes 20 times more reviews than our clients. And we are the only commercial real estate firm that has all 5 star reviews. Every single one has a detail, and not a single one has the same last name as myself or any of my team members.
Awesome. And I can say this, like Google reviews are super important also for Google, because if someone just like writes commercial real estate in your country, you can be like the first above it. Because Google also uses this kind of like Google reviews. It uses the Google reviews for you to rank between you and competitors. So nice. Good job in that one. So I
Thank
want
you.
to
And
ask
one,
you
I've
something. Yeah.
also, uh, well, I've also used AI to say, send me the top commercial real estate broker, or who do you recommend in Chicago? And again, we're
Yep.
always up there. We are right up there at the top, just
Yeah.
like in Google. And unlike some of those big Fortune 500 firms, we don't pay
Mhm.
a cent. We don't pay to be there. We've earned our right to be there.
Yeah, and believe me, Google reviews is like a big impact for the AI mode of Google to tell you that respond. Awesome. And also, as we were talking about this can be automated. So every time you like finish a job with a client, you can automate to send them let's say the link to the Google reviews. So you will never miss any Google reviews from any of the client. Yep. So,
Awesome.
Bill,
I
I
love
wanted
that.
to ask you a question that I always ask to all my guests. So, if you would have like a magic wand that would solve 2 to 3 pain points besides the follow-ups, what would those be? That you
Mhm.
know with those solved,
Oh,
you can like
yeah.
scale faster.
100%. Number one is more quality brokers on my team. Right now, Durant, I've got 3 great brokers
Okay.
in at Tenant Advisory Group, not counting myself, and I'm supporting 7 other brokers outside of Tenant Advisory Group with all the transactions that are coming into our firm, but we don't have time or the bandwidth to handle.
Yeah.
So that'd be
Yeah.
number one, is just magic wand, poof. I've got probably I'd say 5 or 6 more quality brokers that share
Yeah.
similar values as I do on the team. Uh, the second one, and we've touched on this, is quality prospecting. We do a lot of that manually, right? I've got terrific admins that are scrubbing databases, finding people that we want to meet, that we have mutual connections to, and
Yeah.
then asking those people for introductions. It's a much more personal way of doing it. That's how we get in front of all of our prospects, is by getting
Yes.
introduced. Um, but if I could magically, use my AI wand and have those opportunities, but I have to have the brokers first, because, like I
Yeah.
said, I'm sending out so many transactions to about 6 or 7 other brokers not at tag. So bringing in more deals, we would probably, what we would do if we did have we'd just work on the bigger, better deals and just send out even more. But that would be what my hope would be.
Awesome. I love it. So, like, before we wrap up, where can our listeners and also maybe potential clients reach out to you if they would want to?
Yeah, thanks, Saran. I mean, the best way to reach out to us is through our website. It's www.tagcommercialbroker.com. That's TAG as in girl, commercialbroker.com. And all over the website, there are um, tabs of contact us. Well, I will have you know, when you fill out that contact us form, it goes directly to my inbox, and I personally respond to those. And so, whatever your need is, if we're going to be able to do an exceptional job in house, we do it. If we can't do that in house, I will refer you to the person that can do an exceptional job. And so, regardless of what your commercial real estate need is, there's a good chance either we can do it in house at Tenant Advisory Group, or I have a
Mhm.
terrific resource that I'd be happy to connect you with.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so once again, Bill, thank you very much for your time. It was super fun, insightful, and inspirational conversation. And for everyone who is watching, keep growing, keep thriving, and I will see you on the next episode.